You are listening to Coach's Corner with John Anderson on the CompuSports Radio Network.
Welcome, everyone, to the Coach's Corner Radio Show. I'm John Anderson, and today we have a great guest. We're going to be talking to him from Charleston, West Virginia, where he has retired from coaching. He is well known at the Division I AA, Division II, and Division III college level. His name is Tony DeMeo, and we will be talking with him about several different topics, one of which is his triple gun offense, which he's made famous all over the country. And we'll talk with him about things like meaningful stats and strategic flexibility. All this and more this week's Coach's Corner. Some of you folks are aware of OptionCentral.net. Some of you may even have had a membership to OptionCentral.net at one time. What many folks don't know is that Option Central has become the premier site for all things option football, with contributions from coaches from Massachusetts to California, from coaches like Jay DeCant, Larry Beckish, James Vint, Charles Wilson, Johnny Annucci, and many others. Option Central is the place to learn many of the concepts that can help you with ideas for offensive success. And anyone who has heard this program for any length of time knows that I give defensive guys a hard time. But there are even a few articles that they can benefit from as well. There are even a few videos up there too. OptionCentral.net. I'm there, and you should be too.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network.
My guest today is talking to us from his home in Charleston, West Virginia, where he has retired from coaching now, spent a lot of years there. He is a coach, clinic speaker, and all-around great guy, as well as having more college coaching awards than I've got sizes on my belt line, and that is pretty substantial. And as we said at the top of the program, we're going to be talking about his shotgun triple option offense, as well as things like meaningful statistics and strategic flexibility. This is going to be part one of this discussion, and we're going to have part two of it over on Option Central, over on the MeshPoint program, so make sure you tune in to there. That's going to be accessible through a link from our website here. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest. Let's welcome Coach Tony DeMeo. Welcome, Coach, to Coach's Corner.
Oh, well, thank you very much, John. I appreciate being here.
Let's talk about this term, strategic flexibility, first.
Strategic flexibility is what I call the ability for a play to change after the snap is strategic flexibility, because it takes away the necessity to be a great play caller. And there's been, throughout the football history, there's been certain points of strategic flexibility. For example, the Green Bay power sweep was a play that had strategic flexibility because it changed after the snap of the ball when the ball carrier got the ball. In other words, when you think of the old Packer sweep, Horning could cut into a number of different places based on the blocking, based on the defense, the way the defense played the play. And Lombardi called it run to daylight. Well, that's strategic flexibility. So he reacted, the ball carrier reacted based on what the defense did. Then, of course, there was other plays like the run and shoot was all about strategic flexibility because the routes changed after the snap of the ball based on the coverage of the defense. And what I did, and then, of course, the triple option was strategic flexibility because, based on the defensive reaction, the quarterback either gave or kept or pitched. So these are all areas of strategic flexibility. What I did with the triple gun was make the whole offense like that because I didn't want to depend on my ability to call plays. I wanted the play to change after the snap of the ball. So the first of the core play of the triple gun is is the gun triple, the triple option out of the shotgun. And the way we taught it was the first read for the quarterback was the quick screen, or what I call flash. And his rule is this: 8 between the slots, throw quicks and hots. So the flash was a hot throw to the receiver away from the call of the triple option. So 9 other players run the triple option, but the quarterback throws the quick screen to the wideout, and he goes one-on-one with the corner. The other thing I truly believe in is make cover guys tackle and tackle guys cover. And if you do that, the edge is always in your favor. So in other words, a corner is what kind of guy? He's a cover guy, so you make him tackle as much as possible. And say a linebacker's a tackle guy, so you make him cover as many times as possible in the game. Those are mismatches. So anyway, the first read is the quick screen. The second thing is if he hands the ball to the tailback on the read of the triple option, the tailback is not a crease runner like under center. He's a cavity runner, so he can run based on what the defense is doing, almost like the inside zone. He can go from B gap to B gap, which is different than an under center triple. So if the linebackers scrape hard to the play side, he can cut back behind the nose guard and behind the center, which again is unique to the triple gun. Under center, you can't do that. So now you've threatened the perimeter away from the play. You've threatened the backside gap away from the nose guard, away from the play. And then, of course, you have the regular dive, keep, pitch dimension of the triple option front side. So you've attacked 5 areas of the field in one play, and it can go into any one of those 5 areas based on the defensive reaction without me ever knowing it and me only calling one play. So that's the idea of it. And then we do that with all the plays. For example, the quick game, we'll throw the quick game one side, but if it's covered, or if the quarterback doesn't like it, he boots away from that side. And the routes convert, and all of a sudden you go from the quick game to sprint out. That's what I'm talking about, strategic flexibility.
Coach Tony DeMeo is my guest, and we're going to be talking with more of not only strategic flexibility, but triple gun and pistol and all those other great terms out there, and maybe we'll even get to some food conversation in here somewhere. We'll be right back right after this. Here's Mainstream South.
Coaches helping coaches. That is the message behind Jerry Campbell Football. Jerry Campbell Football provides the best quality products that can increase the range of information and understanding of football coaches, players, and fans. You can find great value on the website located at www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. Jerry Campbell Football has books and DVDs available, whether it be offense, defense, resume preparation, the kicking game, or PowerPoint training. Jerry Campbell Football has what you need to build your knowledge base. Whether by using a traditional approach to cutting-edge technology, you can enhance your knowledge in nearly any area. You can also join in with coaches from all over the country at the interactive message forum at www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. That's www.jerrycampbellfootball.com.
Without you, I can't stand all over. I can't stand all over. I can't stand.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network.
Without you.
Oh yeah, Cookie Cutter Girl leading us into this segment. Tony DeMeo is my guest. Coach, let's go ahead and cover a little bit of your background, where you've been, what you've done. You've been in a number of places here in the Mid-Atlantic states and out into Kentucky.
Right. I've been as far west as Kansas. I coached out in Kansas for a while. And yeah, I've moved a lot of places. Somebody asked me one time if my dad put my lunch in a road map. In so many places. My wife and I have bought and sold 12 houses.
Wow.
That doesn't include summer houses.
That's the life of a coach.
Yeah. So, I've sold so many houses, I could have a real estate agent.
I guess your own personal real estate agent at that. Yeah.
But, we were talking about strategic flexibility, and John, you're a defensive coach, but I'm going to give you an example.
Oh, no, sir. I've always been considered an offensive coach because I only spent a year and a half on defense. So I don't think
you coach defense.
I did coach defense, yes. That's why I give them a hard time.
So when you coach defense, when you defending the quick game, what do you teach your defensive linemen to do? Get your hands in the air, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, now all of a sudden we boot and try chasing the quarterback with your hands in the air. It doesn't work, and that's how the play really makes it difficult to defend. That's an example of strategic flexibility.
Okay, let's get back to a little bit about you here. You were born and raised in New York City.
Right.
In Brooklyn, I believe,
right.
if I remember.
No, the Bronx.
In the Bronx, okay.
Born in the Bronx. My neighborhood was so tough, the police station had unlisted number.
That's rough. That's pretty tough when that happens. And if I remember correctly, they filmed Fort Apache there.
A little south of where I grew up.
Oh, yes. I remember that film. One of the places you coached at in New Rochelle, New York, which is actually a distant suburb of the city, and Iona.
Right. I played at Iona. I was a tailback at Iona. There's only been 2 undefeated teams in school history. And I played on one. I was a defensive back on that one. I started at corner, believe it or not. And then I played tailback. I coached the other undefeated team. So I played on one and started on defense on one undefeated team and coached I was the head coach of the other one. Those were the only 2 undefeated teams in Iona history. And I was fortunate enough to be inducted into the Iona Hall of Fame in 1997.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I was the 17th person inducted into their Hall of Fame, and the 16th was Jim Valvano.
How about that?
Yep.
And for most folks who don't know Jim Valvano, the late Jim Valvano coached a series of very great teams down in North Carolina State.
Right. He coached a great team at Iona too. His last year at Iona, they beat Louisville in the Garden, and Louisville went on that year to win the 1980 national championship. So he had a good run at Iona too.
So you also had mentioned you went out to Kansas, but you also coached out in Kentucky over at Murray State in Murray, Kentucky, out there on the west side.
Right. I coached there. I was one of 10 Italians living in the city of Murray at that time. And 6 were under my roof, so my house was called Little Italy in Murray.
I mean, you've had stops at Temple, you've had stops at UMass,
right?
Delaware, Penn, Pace, and
James Madison,
right? And James Madison, and then Richmond,
right?
And then you ended up in Charleston, where you had a tremendous run out there in Charleston.
I was very fortunate. I coached with some great people. I had great influences in my life coaching. My college coach was Ben Bedini, who was a legendary high school coach in New York. He had 2 33-game win streaks as a high school coach, and then did a great job coaching Iona. And then, so I had him as an early influence. And then I went to Pace, secondary coach under George Mayer at Pace University. But the big thing at Pace was the Giants were training there. So I shadowed Bill Arnsparger for 2 years and really got to know Bill Arnsparger and the whole Giant system. I studied it. Every minute I wasn't coaching for Pace, I was studying the Giants. And that was a great thing for me. And then, the other thing that happened, before I went to Pace, I was going to coach at a high school. And the high school coach wanted to run the wishbone. So I went down to Texas for 3 weeks and studied the wishbone under Darrell Royal. I wrote him a letter and he invited me down, and I went down and stayed at UT for 3 weeks. and studied the wishbone. I spent every minute. I had about 7 legal pads full of notes on the wishbone, but when I came back, I had been offered a job at Pace and a job at Fordham University, and I chose the Pace job because the Giants were training there. And I never ever did run the wishbone at that high school that I went down to learn it for. Then after I was at Pace for 2 years, and then I was hired at Iona as the head coach. I was the youngest head coach in college football in 1975. I was 25 years old. I was a head college coach. And we were picked last in our conference, and we finished third without a quarterback. And that's where I used the wishbone. I took the wishbone in at Iona because I didn't have a returning quarterback. And then in 1976, I combined the pro passing attack that I'd learned with studying the Giants with the wishbone, and won the conference championship in 76, went undefeated in 77, came in second in 78, and that was really kind of the start of the whole unique thing, because I was throwing the ball for almost as many yards as we were rushing the ball, which was really unique at the time with the wishbone. And actually went into what's now known as the flex bone, but I called it the multi-bone at the time. One back, triple option. And that was in the 70s. 75, 76, 77, and 78. And then, Harry Gamble, who was the head coach at Penn at the time, noticed this. And, a good friend of his was Bill Campbell. He's at Columbia. And he told Harry about it, what I was doing. And Harry, Gamble called and hired me at Penn. Harry went on to be the general manager, CEO, and president of the Philadelphia Eagles. So coaching under Harry Gamble for 2 years was a great experience. He really taught me how to be a coach. I knew how to coach, but Harry Gamble taught me how to be a coach, and that was a big step in my career.
Tony DeMeo's my guest. We'll be talking more flex bone and pistol and a lot of other stuff when we come back. Robert Wanyu from Vermont's going to lead us out on this one.
Easy Cut from CompuSports is a fast and enjoyable way to edit and analyze your game videos. Watch entire games on your computer, then label and index plays with a click of a mouse. Copy scenes to CD, DVD, or a memory stick and upload to online video sharing sites like YouTube. Search and sort plays by keywords. Then pause, restart, rewind, and even watch frame by frame for fast and detailed video analysis. Easy Cut is compatible with XP, Vista, and Windows 7. Download the 21-day free trial now or order on CD and discover how easy it is to start analyzing your game videos today.
Tony DeMeo is my guest. That was Clarissa you heard leading us into this segment. And let's cover Coach DeMeo's quote of the day. The size of a man is best gauged by his pant size. Oh, wait a minute, that's not right. Best gauged by the size of his dreams and of his deeds. I guess a size 38 would not necessarily qualify, would it, Coach?
Well, that comes from my book, The Grass Isn't Greener, It's Only AstroTurf. That's where all those quotes come from. Okay. And a long time ago, a sports writer said to me, I was kind of known for one-liners, and a sports writer said to me, you should write them all down and put them in a book. And I said, okay. So I kept track of them on a legal pad. In 1994, I published the book, The Grass Isn't Greener, It's Only AstroTurf, and it sold a ton of copies. It's still selling copies. And it's all quotes like that, funny quotes that I've said over the years at one place or another.
Some of them you've done on the air, too. So.
Some of them I've done on the air.
Which we won't repeat here.
Be careful. I've never really learned to be careful about that, but, yeah, some of them have gotten me in trouble. When I retired from Charleston, the AD said that when I got there, the program was in somewhat disarray. And when I got up after he introduced me and whatever, and I said, disarray? If you calling the program in disarray is like saying Katrina was a shower.
Oh, boy. Let's go ahead and get back into some flexbone and pistol here, Coach, before I get in trouble. Now, one of the things that I noticed from watching flexbone teams, you don't see too many of them running out of the pistol. I'm starting to see a few more of them now as game film is getting around more and more around the country. And there's things like YouTube up there and different other video websites. One of the things that I notice is you're trying to make the mesh of that A-back. The tailback. I'm going to go out on a limb and probably say that the tailback behind the quarterback in the pistol is probably your feature back.
Well, you would think that, but it's not always the case. I mean, we really spread the ball around. We pitched, one year, 2009, we pitched the ball for 100 yards a game. And our slot, one of our slots, Aaron Higdon, who's number 9, if you watch our videos, rushed for 1,000 yards in 100 carries. So, he was a real good player. He got signed by the Lions and did a good job with them. He made it, I think, to the last cut. But he was a really explosive player. And, we pitched him the ball, gave him the ball in the jet sweep and a few things. The thing that's different a little bit about what we do as opposed to the pistol or the flexbone, we moved the guy, we got in the shotgun basically for pass protection is why we did it, not for the running game. Under center, I was happy with the running game, but we got to the triple gun, which is the tailback's at 5.5 and the pistol is at 7.5. And that's a big difference. And we moved the tailback around. We don't just keep him behind the quarterback. We offset him behind the guard. We put him we even run the triple option out of an empty set. So we moved the tailback all over the place. And anybody can be the dive back. A slot can be the dive back. We use what I call flip option, where the slot comes in motion and he becomes the dive back and the tailback becomes the pitch back. So we move guys all around. It's a lot more difficult to zero in on who our tailback really is on that particular play. And that goes back to my whole idea of strategic flexibility. So it's a little bit different concept than the pistol. I know Chris Ault personally. I mean, I was on the rules committee with him, and he's a great coach, and I like the pistol. It's a great thing, but it's different from what I do. There's some similarities. The tailback's depth is a big difference. And we put the tailback at 5.5 because I don't want the handoff key to be able to play both the quarterback and the tailback. So I wanted to get him moving into the line of scrimmage a little bit quicker than they do in the pistol.
So in your ideas of strategic flexibility, I know that Georgia Tech really concentrates on the triple option, probably maybe 20-30% of their actual play calling. Right. But they do have certain formation variations and certain motion variations. But what you're describing to me is a little bit like we're going to move it in all sorts of different ways and challenge you to do different things in order to try to stop us, but you're not going to be able to key on any one back.
Right. We're going to run the triple option 30 times a game, but from different sets and different formations, different motions. It's going to be the same pig, just with a different dress on.
Now, also, you had mentioned you were talking about as far as running the spread. We all know that as far as running the spread or running the flexbone or the flexbone pistol, as what you could call your offense, is that there's different flavors of it as well. Just because you spread people out there doesn't mean you're a throwing team or you're an option team, because everybody has their own little deals with it. You could be a power team out of the spread, as we've also seen.
Absolutely. Well, and you're seeing some of that. You're seeing people running some power read out of the shotgun. But what I try to do is, again, have balance in the attack. So, for example, in 2008, my quarterback led the conference in pass efficiency and set the conference record for the highest pass efficiency in conference history. In 2009, he broke that and set the conference, the Division II record for pass efficiency at 189. And that kid was 5'7", 175 pounds. Again, nobody recruited him, and wound up accounting for 89 touchdowns in 3 years. His name was Durante Hunter. And he was an outstanding quarterback in the triple gun. And I remember when his first game starting, one of the beat writers, Jack Pagachik, said to me, "How can you start a 5'7" quarterback?" And I said, "Well, as long as he doesn't have to rebound, we're all right." And he had a tremendous career for us. And he was 2-time All-Conference. So the offense is very, very balanced. We throw the ball quite a bit. We throw a lot of the quick game. And we've always been high in passing stats. So it has more balance than most option teams. And that goes back to where I was saying when I learned the passing game from Bill Arnsparger back in, when I was at Pace. But also in 1998, I had a little bit of an epiphany. In the winter of 98, I spent 2 days with Bill Walsh and really, really learned the passing game inside and out. So that was a little bit of an epiphany, and it really changed and refined my thoughts on the passing game.
We're going to talk more about his triple gun when we come back. Here's Maria Porodskoya from Moscow, and she's over here in the States right now on tour. So maybe you can catch her out there somewhere at a venue near you.
Track your entire equipment and clothing inventory in real time with Athletic Equipment Manager. You'll know where it is and who has it. Quickly add or adjust inventory levels. A tag system assigns and tracks each piece. Look up the status of single items or groups of items. Assemble and print reports for each athlete or entire teams, any sport. And it works in single and multi-user mode. Even on your laptop, Athletic Equipment Manager puts you in control. Download it today and try it for free from CompuSports.
You're listening to Coach's Corner with John Anderson on the CompuSports Radio Network. Woohoo! Yeah, baby!
Tony DeMeo is my guest here on Coach's Corner. We've been talking the FlexBone Triple or the Triple Gun or the FlexBone Pistol, whatever you want to call it. But in Coach DeMeo's verbology, he calls it the Triple Gun, and he runs triple option out of it. And he does a lot of downfield throwing with it, and screens, draws, the whole 9 yards. Very, very difficult offense to stop, as we've seen over the years. Coach, you had said in the last segment that you had spent a lot of time with Bill Walsh.
Yeah. In the winter of 98, I spent a day to dinner with him and two people from a magazine called American Football Monthly. And his name was Barry Terranova, used to be the editor of that. And he invited me to dinner with him and Bill Walsh and the publisher of that magazine. And it was a great opportunity, and I got a chance to really talk football with Bill Walsh, and he was great. I mean, he talked to me about passing game a lot, and I thought, at that time I'd already been Coach of the Year 3 or 4 times, and I thought I knew the game pretty well, but I felt like a neophyte after I was through talking to him. But he invited me down to spend some time with him. We were speaking at the same clinic in Fort Worth, Texas, about a month after that. And he invited me down to come a day early and spend some time with him and some other guys that he was getting together with. And I did. I went down. I would have crawled down there for that. But I went down there and I spent the day with Bill Walsh, Sam Retigliano, Brian Billick, Terry Donahue, and a couple other guys, and talked passing game the whole time. And I didn't talk very much. I just taken notes and listened to what those guys had to say, and it was a great opportunity for me. I really learned a lot, and I put a lot of it into things that we were doing with the passing game. And again, we don't do much, but what we do is keep it simple And again, with the idea of strategic flexibility, you don't need a lot of plays, and your plays are going to adjust to what you're seeing anyway. But I got a lot of ideas and a lot of coaching tips from Bill Walsh and Sam Rutigliano and Brian Billick.
You're talking three people who are probably the cream of the crop when you start looking at the pro passing game, and you look at the success that Sam Rutigliano had, and you look at the success that Brian Billick had with Minnesota and with the Baltimore Ravens, and also with, of course, Bill Walsh. You don't even need to say anything there.
Right. Well, Sam Rutigliano, the interesting story there is he's known me since I was in college. And my college coach basically gave Sam his first job, or got Sam his first job. And so I kind of knew him for a while. And really, when I was at Mercyhurst and he was at Cleveland, I used to go as many times as I could to watch their practice, or their mini camp, or study their films. And his offensive coordinator at the time was Lindy Infante, who really was the father of the choice route. The choice route that's so popular in the NFL, that's basically Infante's deal. And I was fortunate enough to spend some time with them and watch them practice and how they practiced it and things like that. And again, that was a good opportunity for me. So as I said, I was blessed. I worked for some great coaches, and I had the opportunity to be influenced by some great coaches. Like I said, Darrell Royal, Bill Walsh, Sam Rutigliano, that's a pretty good crowd. And then I worked for Tubby Raymond in 1989. I was hired by Tubby to put the triple option in with the wing T. And I did that, and I worked with him for a year, coached quarterbacks and receivers, and he and Ted Kempsky and Greg Perry, I had a great opportunity to work with some great coaches. I spent a lot of time with Tubby that year. Every day, Ted, Tubby, and I would go for a walk instead of going to lunch. And it was just like going to school every day. So that was another great opportunity I had.
And we'll talk in the next segment with Coach Tony DeMeo about how he utilizes a minimalist view of plays and how that's worked for him out at Charleston and everywhere else that he's been. You're listening to Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network. If you would like to insert your company's message here or any of the spots here on the CompuSports Radio Network, just email me, John, John, at CompuSportsRadio.com. That's John, John, at CompuSportsRadio.com. One of the many artists who have lent us some music here to play on the program, here's Canada's Michael Bannerman here for the next, 30 seconds or so.
Falling for you, and I think I'm falling, I'm falling for you, and I think I'm falling, I'm falling for you, and I think I'm falling, I'm falling for you, and I think I'm falling, I'm falling for you. Mr. Anderson.
Tony DeMeo is my guest, and we've been talking a lot of different things here, and we're going to get into his use of strategic flexibility in his offense. But first, Coach, I know you've got some webinars coming up, and I know you've got your latest DVD that you wanted to talk about for a second.
The DVD that's really proud of is you can go on my website, TonyDeMeo.com, and look at them. But there's I have one that's a McNally retreat DVD, which is about 5 hours of triple option and supplemental runs and play action pass, et cetera, that you can get on my website. And the other thing that I have one on goals on the website and one on the 4 aces, which is a means of evaluating player performance. Those are pretty good. The other thing is we're starting this year, first time, we're doing 2 webinars in March. The first one is March 6th. You can register now for it. If you register now, you get a discount on it. But the first one is March 6th, and it's 2 hours of pure gun triple. How to install the gun triple. And to me, it's a great thing because you can bring your whole staff in, and only one of you needs to register, and you can have the webinar right there for your whole staff. So I think it's kind of a good situation for a high school coach, and you don't have to travel. You can have it in your own living room. And then the second one is March 20th, and that's all about using multiple formations for the triple gun and the play-action passing game. So there are 3 good topics. The first one is a 2-hour topic, and the second webinar is 2 hours, but it's two one-hour topics. So I'm kind of excited about that. I think it's kind of the way of the future because it's so much more economical for a coach to go and view a webinar, ask questions just like he's at a clinic and not have to travel.
Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and get into some strategic flexibility concerning the triple gun and how you are able to get a maximum amount of plays out of one scheme.
Well, the idea of the triple gun was to have plays that change after the snap. So the gun triple, which is the core run play of the triple gun, starts with the quarterback reading the backside wideout. In other words, he'll look at the front when he comes to the line of scrimmage, and if there's 8 between the slots, he's going to throw quicks and hots. 9 other players will run the triple option, or whatever the play is called, but he'll look back at the wideout away from the play. So in other words, if we're running the triple option to the right, he'll look to the left wideout, and if there's 8 between the slots, he'll just catch the ball and throw it as quickly as possible to that wideout. And that'll allow the wideout to go one-on-one with the defensive back covering him. And one of the main concepts of the triple gun offense is make cover guys tackle and tackle guys cover. So, you know, like you make the guy who blows his nose onto the floor cover people as much as possible, and you make the guy who combs his hair before he puts his helmet on tackle as much as possible. And if you do that, the edge is always in your favor. So that's how the quarterback starts out. He starts out by looking at the wideout. If there's 8 between our slots, he's going to throw it to the wideout because he's going to be one-on-one with that corner. The second thing he's going to do is read the dive just like he would under center, except the dive back has the flexibility to keep its front side or back side. So in other words, if the dive back sees the linebacker's flowing hard, he'll just slide and glide and go backside. Okay? Now I don't rhyme all the time, but I found out that if you rhyme, people remember things. They don't forget them. So I rhyme. If I told you in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, you'll never forget it. So anyway, that's why I put things to rhyme. I learned it from Dr. Seuss. I still remember the Cat in the Hat. But anyway, so that gives the tailback flexibility in how he runs. He's never going to be a crease runner like he is under center. Under center, the dive back's a crease runner. So now you threaten the backside of the nose and you threaten the front side of the nose. So that's 3 places. The fourth threat is the quarterback keep, and the fifth is the pitch. So you threaten the entire defense horizontally from sideline to sideline on one play. That'll decide where the ball is going after the snap. To me, that's the ultimate strategic flexibility that I was talking about.
You even have a read in your defense, not just as to whether you can take the play one direction or another, but you could even get out of the option and then turn around and throw it backside.
Right. So we included in every run is a pass, and included in every pass is a run. So, for example, if we run a quick pass, a three-step game, if the front side is covered, the quarterback boots backside. And he has the option of running and throwing on, just like you would on sprint out. It becomes a sprint out on the run. We call it the boot off the quick game. So he'll attack the perimeter just like he's running sprint out. So we go from a quick pass to a sprint out. And that's difficult for a defense to cover both. And we tell them on the sprint, the part of it, or the boot part of it, if they come, you throw. If they drop, you go.
It's just like against man coverage. If you look at a lot of teams, you have got a mobile quarterback and you get man coverage. It's like, okay, if you see their backs, you take off.
Right. That's his read in our drop back game, is if you see a linebacker's back to you, you just take off and run at it, chase him. You know, and then we don't have to worry about throwing against man under two deep. That's exactly what he does. So again, so the drop back game morphs from a drop back pass into a quarterback draw. When a quarterback draw is the best play you could have called. So that's the idea of strategic flexibility in all areas of the game. So our whole offense is built on those concepts. And because of that, then you only need a handful of plays. You don't have to call a particular play to beat a particular defense. In other words, I don't have to call a quarterback draw versus 5 under 2 deep man. It's naturally built into the quarterback's read. I don't have to call a quick screen if I have gun triple called because it's automatically built into the quarterback's read.
Tony DeMeo is my guest, and we're talking with the Flexbone pistol. We're going to get into some meaningful stats when we come back in the next segment. You're listening to the CompuSports Radio Network. Some of you folks are aware of OptionCentral.net. Some of you may even have had a membership to OptionCentral.net at one time. What many folks don't know is that Option Central has become the premier site for all things option football, with contributions from coaches from Massachusetts to California, from coaches like Joe Sells, Mark Snow, Jerry Campbell, Steve Ellison, Don Herman, and many others. Option Central is the place to learn many of the concepts that can help you with ideas for offensive success. And anyone who has heard this program for any length of time knows that I give defensive guys a hard time. But there are even a few articles that they can benefit from as well. There are even videos up there, too. OptionCentral.net. I'm there, and you should be, too.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network.
Tony DeMeo is my guest. Coach, you've got a set of meaningful stats that you'd like to get into.
Yeah, and because now that I'm retired, I've been watching a little bit more TV, and some of the things these announcers say just make me want to puke. I mean, it's just awful. You know, they're really misleading a lot of the people that are watching them, and that's why coaches get so upset with announcers. For example, they talk about time of possession. Well, the only person that's time of possession is important to is an exorcist. Everybody else, it really doesn't matter. If you want to win the time of possession battle, just throw a couple of pick sixes and you'll win it. You won't win the game, but you'll win the time of possession battle. So time of possession and winning really don't have much in common. Neither does total offense, neither does rushing offense, and certainly not passing offense. The team that throws for the most yardage loses 58% of the time. So obviously that's not really a meaningful stat. But yet that's all the announcers bring up. They also bring up averages. And football is not like baseball. Averages don't mean anything. What you do one week has little to do with what happens the next week. It's because you're playing a totally different team, a totally different scheme. So I came up with 4 meaningful stats way back in my career that really do matter. They really do have a bearing on who wins the football game. And they are this. Number 1, score a baseline of 25 points. I didn't say average 25 points. I'm saying score 25 points against the best on your schedule. If you can do that, you're going to win 88% of your games. And every time I say that at a clinic or whatever, I always have a coach raise their hand and say, oh, we average 32 points. We average 29 points. I didn't say average that. I say you have to score 25. 2 years ago, Oregon was averaging 50 points a game. And over 50 points. But if they had scored 25 against Auburn, they win the national championship. Half of what they were averaging. If LSU scored 25 points last year, they win the national championship. So 25 points against the best on your schedule is not an easy thing. That's what your baseline target should be, 25 points. The second one is hold your opponent to minus 16. To play great defense, you hold your opponent to 16 or less. And if you do that, you win 92% of your games. And again, I mean, if you look at the previous 2 national championships in college football, the winning team held their opponent to under 16. And Oregon, the only game they lost this year was to Stanford, and they didn't score their 25, and Stanford held them to, I believe, under 16. But regardless, they didn't score their baseline 25, even though they were averaging 50 points a game again. The third one is if you score a non-offensive touchdown, in other words, a kickoff return, punt return, interception return, whatever, you'll win 90% of your games. Now, what you won't win is time of possession battle, because you're giving up a possession for a score. But if you can score a non-offensive touchdown, that gives you a huge edge, because you score a touchdown without a possession. And the fourth one is 25 years as a head coach. We're undefeated if we had a +2 turnover margin. If you have a +2 turnover margin, you'll win 96% of your games. If you have a +3, it's 98. So those are the 4 stats that matter. So when I put together the triple gun offense, I did it in this manner because I took over 4 football programs, college football programs in my career, and all of them had to be done, all of them were done with this formula. I wanted a system where I could score 25 against anybody. Well, the option and the quick game are the best way to do that. Those are equalizers. The second thing is that it had to be low risk because I couldn't afford turnovers. Turnovers make you lose. So what I did was the way I taught the option, which would take up a whole another couple of hours in talking about that. The way I taught it was I took the risk out of the option because everybody says, oh, you know, it's a high risk offense. But it doesn't have to be. I took the risk out of it by the way we coach it. And the third thing was if you can control the ball. So if you score 25 points and control the ball, then your opponent isn't going to score a lot of points either. And it's not time of possession that's important, it's number of possessions. Like if we're playing a team that's better than us, then I want to hold the game to 8 possessions. And in those 8 possessions, be more efficient at scoring than my opponent. So, for example, if you're going to play a golf match against somebody better than you, wouldn't you rather play them in a 3-hole match than a 36-hole match? The difference between talent and skill is duration. So that's what you want to do. You want to slow the game down. You want to hold the game to 8 possessions. And those are the 4 meaningful stats. Those are the 4 things that mean something in terms of winning and losing. And total offense and all that stuff. Because you see a lot of the spread teams go up and down the field, but they kick field goals. They don't score. They're not doing the job. And that's what you want to do. You want to play great red zone offense and red zone defense.
And they're not being efficient.
Make them kick field goals and you score touchdowns. That's what I'm talking about, being more efficient. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about those? Baseline points and things like that? I'll give you an example, John. Is like when I talked to Frank Solich one year about goals, their goals, and he was the offensive coordinator in Nebraska, and their goals were to score 40 points in the game and have 440 yards total offense and so on and so on. And what I told him was that those are worthy goals, but they don't really work, and I'll show you why. Their opening game that year was against Troy State, which wasn't very good at that time. So if they scored 40 points in that game, they put a gold star up on their goal board. But then they play Oklahoma, and if they only score 35 points against Oklahoma, there is no gold star. Yet never had Nebraska scored 35 against Oklahoma. So what would you rather do, have 35 against Oklahoma or 40 against Troy State? You know, what's more, you follow?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it depends on if you're looking for style points,
depends
too.
on who your opponent is. That's why averages don't mean anything, or goals like that don't mean anything. You have to have baseline points, not points like that.
My guest has been Tony DeMeo. He is now retired in Charleston, West Virginia. Coach, it's been great to have you on the program. Coach
It's been fun.
Coach DeMeo is going to be on the Mesh Point program here very shortly, so we'll be able to talk a little bit more option with him over there. Coach, we definitely want to bring you back on here in the future.
Well, I'd love to be back. I think this is a really good show. I think it's a great show for coaches where they can listen to some thoughts by different people. And, you know, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat and a lot of different ideas, and you just have to pick the ones that you're comfortable with.
Thank you, sir, once again. For the rest of you, some final thoughts coming up after this. You know, we did get into the food part of this conversation. I'm still trying to figure out what happened there. Thanks to Coach Tony DeMeo for coming on to the program. And you can catch the next part of this interview with Coach DeMeo. Just look at that link right there next to the player, and you'll see the link for the Mesh Point program over on Options Central. And this next part is going to be available to everybody. Normally, the Mesh Point is a member program over on OptionsCentral.net. And you can listen in to the Mesh Point program. We're going to get more involved with his shotgun triple. This offense is in use at the college level, and I think you could probably have a real good run at using this at the high school level with the right quarterback. Coach's Corner is an Abundant Harvest presentation here on the CompuSports Radio Network. I'm John Anderson. We'll catch you over on the Mesh Point. You can click over there right now. Go ahead and click over there. I'll meet you there.